Before we enter today's dark and chilling story, make sure to subscribe for more mysteries like this. And one question, where in the world are you watching from at this moment? Let's start our video. They say the final death he predicted came minutes before the sky itself changed color. Witnesses claimed the air around the old marsh near Mobile shimmered as though the world were holding its breath. And standing at the center of that trembling landscape was a boy no older than 12, barefoot in the mud, his eyes dark and unblinking. He whispered a single name, a name belonging to a man standing not 20 feet away, and by the time that man turned around, his heart had already stopped. The boy, whose name was Asa, did not scream. He did not cry. He did not run. He simply stared into the distance, as if listening to something that no one else could hear. That was the 12th death. And that was the night the city of Mobile tried to erase him. But legends do not die. They rot slowly, beneath floorboards and in locked archives, waiting for a time when someone foolish enough, or desperate enough, dares to pull the nails free. Asa was one of those legends. A whisper trapped in history. A child who predicted death not with superstition or divination but with a precision that felt surgical, inevitable, ordained. Those who knew him said he was not gifted. He was haunted. The story begins with his arrival, if arrival is the right word. No record exists of where Asa came from. No bill of sale. No transport manifest. No birth ledger. One fog-heavy morning in 1834, the gates of the Harrowby estate creaked open to reveal a small boy standing motionless in the dew. He did not knock. He did not call out. He simply stood with his hands at his sides, waiting. The gatekeeper thought he was a runaway slave child and seized him by the arm, but the moment he touched Asa, a strange coldness spread through his fingertips. "Feels like touching a grave," the man whispered later. When asked who he was, Asa responded with a phrase that would echo through every death that followed. "I go where the deaths go." Inside the estate, Charlotte Harrowby took him in. She was a widow whose mind had begun fraying after the mysterious death of her husband, Elias Harrowby, the year prior. Elias had died in their bedroom, his face frozen in such terror that even the undertaker struggled to close his jaw. Charlotte had become obsessed with signs, omens, patterns. She believed Asa was one. A messenger. A warning. A chance to uncover the truth behind her husband's demise. It did not take long for Asa's gift to reveal itself. The first death he predicted was the overseer, Daniel Hargrove. A storm had rolled in, and workers were scrambling to secure tools and shutters. Asa suddenly froze in the mud, head tilted as if hearing a distant voice. "He's already gone," he said. "Check the well." They found Hargrove minutes later, his neck broken at the bottom. Some said he slipped. Others said the fall looked too deliberate, as though he had been pushed by invisible hands. The second and third deaths followed within a week, a kitchen maid who collapsed while stirring stew, and a groundskeeper who died after calmly sitting down beneath a cypress tree and closing his eyes. Asa predicted both. Each time with eerie calm. Each time with details no one could have known. By the fifth death, fear had spread through the estate like illness. Workers refused to pass Asa in the hallways. Some crossed themselves. Others muttered Creole prayers under their breath. Asa himself remained quiet, distant, as if the world he occupied existed in a layer just beneath the one everyone else lived in. Charlotte, increasingly unhinged, became convinced that the boy was not predicting the future. He was hearing something. Someone. He was hearing her dead husband. This belief intensified when Asa began waking at night, wandering into Elias's old study, placing his ear to the wallboards like he was listening for movements behind them. One night Charlotte confronted him, demanding to know what he heard. "They're rehearsing," he said softly. "For what?" "For their deaths." Again. The Harrowby family had a secret buried beneath Mobile's polite Christian veneer. Elias had served as a patron of St. Elias Parish, a church infamous for its rigid rituals and its veiled, spiritual investigations. Rumors whispered of a seminary the Harabis once funded, where children were trained in isolation. A place closed abruptly after 6 students died under circumstances never explained. Some said the church had performed purification ceremonies. Others believed something older than Christianity had been awakened there. Charlotte grew convinced, the dead from that seminary never left. Their deaths, murmured eternally, now reached Asa's ears. When Reverend Bartlett, head of St. Elias Parish, learned of the predictions, he visited the estate. He asked Asa how he knew these dark prophecies. "No prophecy," Asa replied. "They tell me." "Who?" "The ones in the floor." Reverend Bartlett blanched. The seminary archives he kept, sealed for decades, contained a chilling detail. Several children who died there had complained about voices in the wood, especially at night, especially when alone. After death 7, the sudden passing of a riverboat captain who Asa claimed had water in his lungs long before he fell, Bartlett demanded the boy be surrendered to the church. Charlotte refused. A battle between them began, one not of law but of fear. The church feared Asa because he threatened secrecy. Charlotte feared the church because she believed it responsible for Elias's death. And then death 8 happened. Asa predicted it for Charlotte herself. "You hear them too now," he whispered to her at breakfast. "You shouldn't go upstairs today." Her breath stilled. She did not go upstairs. Hours later a massive wooden beam collapsed in the hallway she would have crossed, splitting clean through the floorboards. Now terror consumed her. If Asa could prevent deaths by speaking them, why didn't he? His answer was simple: "I don't stop what has already happened." Charlotte began digging into church records. What she uncovered horrified her: missing pages, burned letters, testimonies crossed out in heavy ink. Names of children who had died suddenly, with causes listed as unfit for scriptural explanation. She learned Elias had tried to expose something within the church before his death. She learned he was silenced. Meanwhile Asa grew increasingly detached. He stopped eating. Stopped sleeping. He spent hours staring at corners, at ceilings, at cracks between boards. He hummed tunes no one recognized, rhythms that felt less like music and more like ritual. Then came death 9. Asa told a carpenter, "You fall without falling," and that afternoon the man died standing upright, eyes wide open, no sign of injury. His body simply stopped. The 10th death occurred inside the church itself. A minister collapsed while humming the same tune Asa had been humming days earlier. The scorch marks on the walls around him resembled clawed hands reaching upward. Now the city of Mobile grew restless. Rumors spread in taverns, in slave quarters, in the narrow alleys near the docks. People claimed Asa's presence made clocks run backward. That animals refused to go near him. That when he looked at someone too long, they felt a coldness behind their ribs. The church moved to seize him. But they were too late. The night death 11 occurred, Asa vanished. His bed was damp, as if rain had fallen only there. Footprints led toward the marsh, but alongside them were prints that made no sense, elongated depressions, as though something crawled rather than walked. Charlotte screamed for help. Workers searched with lanterns. But the marsh swallowed every trace. Bartlett denied involvement. Charlotte accused him anyway. The church declared her blasphemous. In the chaos that followed, the 12th death happened, the final death Asa had whispered before disappearing. A local judge dropped dead in the middle of a trial, his eyes fixed on a corner of the room as if he saw something no one else did. The city tried to bury the story. Charlotte was institutionalized within a year, raving about voices in the floorboards and children rehearsing their deaths. The Harabi estate decayed. The church sealed its archives. And anyone who asked about Asa was told he never existed. But marshes do not forget. Decades later, hunters near the old Harrowby property reported hearing a child's voice whispering names in the fog. Sometimes the fog would gather in shapes that resembled a small figure. One hunter claimed his brother died minutes after hearing his own name spoken by that voice. Another claimed he saw Asa standing knee-deep in water, eyes reflecting torchlight like an animal's. Today, locals still avoid the marshes on humid summer nights. Not because of snakes. Not because of mud. Because if you stand quietly, completely still, you may hear the whisper. A name drifting over the water. Quiet. Calm. Certain. And if the name is yours, run. Because the boy who predicted 12 deaths with perfect accuracy never stopped listening. And the dead never stopped speaking.